Okay, folks, so did the story of the Exodus actually happen? That story of Moses and delivering the Israelite slaves and all that sort of stuff? Well, it's a very good question, and it's also, unfortunately or fortunately, a little bit complicated to answer just with a simple yes or no. For example, there are some reasons why scholars tend to think that there's something to this story in terms of it having happened in history. For example, who would make up a story like this? This is about Israel's origins as a people, and to say, not only to say that, we were enslaved for 400 years by the Egyptians, but that our God let that happen. This is a major shame factor. So it's hard to see this just being made up out of whole cloth. Also, another reason why scholars think that there's something historical going on here is because of the names. There are Egyptian echoes in the book of Exodus, and one of those has to do with names. So, for example, Moses is not a Hebrew name, it's an Egyptian name. We see that with, some of the pharaohs have this name Moses at the end, like King Tutmosis. Moses means born of. So Tutmosis means this pharaoh is born of the god Tut. So for Moses to have that name, it seems like there's something really Egyptian going on there. So you've got some reasons for thinking that there is something that intersects with history going on in this story. On the other hand, there are a couple of reasons why scholars have really questioned whether this is a historical story straight through. I mean, for example, there's no evidence for this having happened. There's no record or evidence of Israelites being slaves in Egypt. There is no record of them wandering through the desert for 40 years. And, they probably would have left debris or something that archaeologists with rather sophisticated means can figure out. And it's not like people aren't looking for it. Now, the fact that nothing's been found doesn't mean in and of itself nothing happened, but it just seems very, very implausible at this point in time. There's no evidence for it. Also, there's no record of this in Egypt. And that's the kind of thing you might expect for them to say something about what happened. Now, some people think, well, listen, of course the Egyptians didn't mention it because it's embarrassing that they got bested by slaves and their slave god. But that's not how it works. If something really bad happens, what you do in the ancient world is you spin it, you make it look, you give reasons that help you save face for why this happened. But we don't see that. And even forget Egypt for a second. If something as monumental as about probably 2 million people leaving Egypt, that's a big deal. And other nations would have heard about it. The Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, somebody would have mentioned, you guys don't have much of a history there. You in Egypt, you got bested by the slave god, but nobody talks about it. That makes it unlikely that this is a historical account in the way that we understand history. Another thing that's a little bit difficult is just reading the story itself. It doesn't read like history. It reads like story. You have a sea splitting in half, you have the Nile turning to blood, you have the sun blotted out, you have the death of the firstborn. And these things seem to read like ancient stories that have more of a mythical quality than a historical quality. So the question of, is this story historical or not? It's a little bit difficult to answer. And probably the best take is that it's got a historical root of some sort, and it's also got a story quality to it. And both of those things are coming together. Now, to talk more about that would be like a 50-hour video, which I'm not going to do. Instead, what I will say is that I have a book coming out this month called Exodus for Normal People. It's a commentary on the book of Exodus written for just everyday people without an academic background, with maybe curiosity, but not a lot of background in this particular issue. And it's there, and I talk about a lot of these things, and I try to come up with some answers for some as I'm able to. And there it is. And if you're interested, you go to thebiblefornormalpeople.com, and right there you're going to see Exodus for Normal People. Click on the picture and it'll give you all the information you need. All right, folks, thanks for watching. See you soon.